Corporate Badasses. I'm so excited to be here with another installment of my Summer of Magic Leadership series. This has been an absolutely incredible, impactful Summer of Magic so far in 2025. Before I get into some of that magic, I want to share with you what the heck the Summer of Magic series is and why we're here with you today. So the Summer of Magic was created actually 4 years ago. We're in our fourth year, and I was working with clients who, and there was one specific instance where a woman received a promotion while she was on summer vacation. And she emailed me and she was like, the best part was I received the ding on my phone and I wasn't checking my work email during the time. But I was like, let me look at this. And it said, congratulations, your promotion is been accepted or whatever, not that lame. And then she said, the best part was I was sitting on the beach with my family when I received the announcement, and I didn't even have to deal with it till I got back to work. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this was not only possible, but it's happening for people, that even while we're on vacation, even while, let's say it's the middle of the holidays at the end of the year, let's say it's not performance review time or part of the promotion cycle, it is possible to get into these elevated leadership roles. And not only is it possible, I think part of the magical formula is to set yourself up year round so that you're already ready and open to opportunities. So this is something that I'm working with my clients all of the time inside of my programs, the Leadership Table and my Women's Leadership Accelerator. And I wanted to bring women onto this conversation to share with you some of their magical happenings as well as their success stories over the past couple of years. So I'm so excited to have, a lot of my clients are my favorite, but two of my favorite clients on here today to share with you their experiences and their stories with the Summer of Magic and also just with their career in general. Thank you for already saying hello. Hi, Marie in Nova Scotia. Hello, Jennifer in Virginia. I'm so glad that you're here. Please definitely tell us hello. And if you have any questions for us, make sure that you drop them in the chat because we're going to be here with you live for the next 20, 25 minutes. So take advantage of that opportunity. All right, I'll have you introduce yourself and then we'll get started in today's conversation. Shari, would you like to go first?
Yeah, hi, Shari Begun. I'm a global commercial executive located in Silicon Valley.
All right, excellent. Hello, Thelma. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm Thelma Haddock. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and I am a change leader for Enterprise IT organization.
Yes. I'm so excited. Both of these women are incredibly powerful leaders, and some of their secrets to success have been to articulate their leadership and what they bring to the table and to be able to share it. And so I always get excited even just when they share their introductions. If you're listening to this day and today and you've been in that situation where someone says, what do you do? And you don't know how to answer it. I'd like to encourage you to, even as you're listening to today, be inspired, write it down, figure out what your one or two sentences is, your elevator pitch, so to speak, so that you feel ready and prepared, but also that it really represents the amazingness that you have and what you bring to the table. So I like hearing when you share something like that with us. All right, going back to you, Thelma, I'd love to ask the $1 million question. Do you believe in magic? What is magic to you? And how have you experienced that kind of success in your career?
So what I will say is I'll start off and say that at the beginning of the year, I made a decision to stop holding back and to use my voice more here on LinkedIn. I didn't have a big strategy or anything like that. I just wanted to stop just keeping my thoughts in a journal or in my phone. I wanted to share them just to see who it might reach. And what happened since, it's been kind of a quiet magic for me.
Mm-hmm.
People all over the world started showing up in my comments and everything. And we're different in hundreds of ways, but somehow at the core, we're all just trying to lead well, live fully, and not lose ourselves in the process. And I would say just having those connections have been powerful. and it's something that stayed with me, and that's the magic, that's
Mhm.
keeps coming back to me, and especially, this summer.
100%, and one of the things that Sherry and I were talking about behind the scenes is how poetic you are as well. There's one thing to do posts on LinkedIn, but when I read some of your posts, not only am I inspired, but I feel the creative energy around it. Like you have such an art to you that and I bet not everybody at work even gets to experience that side of you. And so when we can see that expressed on LinkedIn, it's really wonderful. I definitely encourage you to follow Thelma. You can click on her profile through this interview, but it's been really wonderful to watch you shine. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for that. Yeah. Sherry, what about you? Do you believe in magic?
I do. I think of magic of kind of that definition of luck. It's
Hmm.
where preparation and opportunity meet. And like Thelma, this year I had a couple magical things happen. One, if I look 10 years out when I retire, I have some goals of potentially coaching other female leaders, in particular in STEM professions, of doing consulting. And lo and behold, Stacy, early in the year, you said, I'm setting up a coaching certification program and I would like you to help along with Thelma, which just came out of nowhere. And then the second was I've done my first two paid consulting gigs and in the process of setting one up, which I never thought, I'd get paid for a couple hours of just my thoughts. Um, and then the third, like Thelma, I've only recently started putting some of my thoughts out on LinkedIn, and the response back of, I had a CEO who I respect reach out to me, and she said, "I love what you're posting about leadership and women in particular, and keep it coming." So, yeah, like Thelma, it's just been amazing. The feedback you get in the community that's being made. And Stacy, I just want to ditto what you said. So Thelma is absolutely a poet. So anybody watching this should read her posts. They're absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and you're the storyteller, Sherry. Like she has some incredible and very surprising stories in her career. She's very funny and they're all very truthful. It's kind of
Well,
amazing.
yeah, that's what being a commercial executive is. I work with the biggest, baddest customers on the planet, and a lot of really amazing and hysterical things happen. So I've been putting those out there.
I love it. It's great. It's great. So you're already alluding to this idea of thought leadership as being one of the secrets to success, and one of the things that I wanted to share as well and kind of reflect back in my own personal magic is Sherry mentioned the coaching certification program, and that was actually a really magical moment for me this year as well because I had been wanting to do this for a while, but if anybody who's watching is an entrepreneur or an executive coach, you have those clients that you really admire and you would love to create something with them, but there's always that moment of fear. And and even for the people listening who are in corporate leadership, there's that moment of fear of like asking somebody that you respect, that you really admire to kind of collaborate and create something with you. And my husband kept encouraging me to do it anyway. Just ask, just say the thing. And I remember on that first call with Sherry, Thelma, and Jennifer, and I was like, I would like to start a coaching certification. And they were like, yes, like yesterday. I've been thinking about this for a long time. And so when you finally say the thing or you finally make the ask and everybody around you says yes immediately, like I've been just waiting for you to ask, that's when you know that you're in the magical flow and just like keep going. And so when you put your thought leadership out there and people don't take it for granted that a CEO that you really admire reaches out to you and says, "Hey, keep going," because that's just saying that you're in that flow, and if you keep moving forward, that is the work, right? Just like keep following that inspiration and keep doing the thing that people are resonating with. So Sherry, I'm going to go back to you in terms of your secrets to success and how you've been having those instances in your career. What would you point to as being some of that?
Yeah, I mean, one is, Stacy, you talk about intention with magic. I've always been very goal oriented. However, what got you to where you are isn't always going to get you to where you're going. And probably the biggest thing I've done over the last year is just being so open and curious of back to, I think a lot of the things I used to do was like, no, it's not going to work out, or we got to do A, B, C, D. And now, I just say yes to things and then I figure out how it's going to get done. And so many amazing opportunities have opened up, talking about like the coaching certification. I didn't think about, well, I'm traveling the world, I'm super
Mhm.
busy at work. It's like, you know what? I'll make time for it. And you know what? Your priorities just line up when you do that. And probably the second is really managing my energy, working on things that are super important, allowing my team to be empowered to do things. And, when you have that, people are being creative. You're multiplying yourself around the world. And it's just been an amazing thing to just kind of relinquish control from things and just, have a direction, have an intention, but then let the magic happen.
Yeah, excellent. I love that. Yeah, because I think with intention, it's about setting that intention and then not being responsible for how it plays out, right? Like, and how these things happen to you. Because when we get really fixated on a goal, it can feel like a struggle, right? It can feel like, oh, it's not happening. It's not happening fast enough. And I think that's why a lot of people get stuck in setting big intentions because they don't know how it's going to happen. They don't know how it's going to work out. And so when you can sort of let go of the how and just sort of say yes and follow the flow and sort of figure out, okay, this is the next piece. And it's still, my intention is still very clear and I'm still getting closer to my longer term goals. Yeah, I love that. Thelma, what about you? What have been some of your secrets to success?
Um, I would say that curiosity has driven many of my career moves, especially the ones that didn't necessarily make sense on paper. I've taken on roles that were, they look outside of my lane, and it was not because I had all the answers, but I trusted my transferable skills and my ability to learn fast. Um, while it may appear that I was chasing titles, I was really chasing growth and impact that just happens to come along with the title. And each time I leaned into the unknown, I uncovered strengths about myself I didn't even realize that I had. And so I'd say that curiosity let me turn the unknown into opportunities.
Mm,
And that's kind of that fire that
hmm.
just kind of keeps me moving.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things that we're working on behind the scenes, especially in the Women's Leadership Accelerator, is to figure out the how of curiosity, the how of these are the 3 steps to the Summer of Magic series is intention, curiosity, and belonging. And to know how to create that, how to do that, what does that look like in practice? And Sherry and Thelma are 2 of our executive mentors. So we've been using this coaching certification program to be able to get them out in front of you and to begin coaching and leading the conversations in the how. And so one of the things that's been incredibly impactful for the women is each month they get to show up and have conversations with these leaders. So I'm sharing that with you so that if you're inspired so far in this conversation and you want to learn more from each of these women on this call today, then I encourage you to join us inside of the Women's Leadership Accelerator, where we're all making magic happen. But more importantly, like taking those steps and accountability and asking questions of executive leaders who have done the work, right? Who have walked the talk, who have created so many opportunities for themselves, just like Thelma said, not in chasing titles, but in figuring out what does impact really look like and where can I make the most impact at my organization and also in my life. So I really encourage you to go to mysummerofmagic.com and join us inside. It's only $29 for the first month. and it's a month-to-month membership. So you can join us, get some big wins right out of the gate, and then see what you can begin to create even before the fall hits. We still have like almost 2 months of summer left, which is kind of amazing. All right. So, a question that I like to ask every woman that I have inside of my programs, but also in the Summer of Magic series, just to share with you a little bit of perspective, is why do you personally feel motivated to have a voice at the table? And I think that it doesn't always go without saying that we as women feel motivated to have a voice at the table, but then also we to remind ourselves, like, why are we doing this? Why are we raising our hand? Why are we doing the hard things? Why are we reaching out to this person? Why are we stepping into a leadership position? Because of something greater than ourselves. So I'd love to hear from you. Let's start with Thelma. Why do you feel motivated to have a voice at the table?
I want a voice at the table because decisions are made that affect, my work, my team, my future. And I don't want to just be at the point where I'm there to listen to what has been decided. Um, I want to be able to be at the table to share my perspective in hopes of impacting, where we move ahead. Because I think that based on my background and just life experiences, I bring a different lens to that table that may not have been there before. And so I think I could add value.
Yeah. And one thing that we've always talked about, Thelma, is how you're such a voice of the people. And what I've really, and that has always been true for, I feel like, your direct reports and your team. And I remember stories that you would hop on a plane to help somebody, right, who is trying to figure out like how to solve a big problem. You're just right there with them as a leader. But one of the places that I've really seen you grow in terms of that ability to impact is being the voice of the people up as well, and really learning how to be the voice of leadership, bringing that to your team, but then also sharing with them your ideas up, right? And really saying, hey, not only do I want that voice at the table, here is my voice. I'm going to share it. I got something to say here. And they listen. And that's another thing that doesn't go without saying. And, if you're a woman in leadership, not everybody always listens, right? So do you have anything to add there, how you've been able to kind of navigate being able to share up and manage up in that way?
I would say, I really take the time to observe and listen and not just talk to be talking, and to be able to come in and add a different perspective to something, to invite people in to listen. It's not necessarily about saying, oh, you got it all wrong, I know the answer. It's about, hey, have you thought about this? Can we layer some of this in, because I'm hearing this, from the people, or the people that are being impacted about certain things we do. And I think that's how I kind of navigate my way into sharing my voice, and then ultimately being able to be, called on to say, well, hey, what do you think about this? How do you think that we should move? And I think that's kind of a way that you can do it intentionally, but respectfully as well.
You said something that I haven't heard before, which is inviting your leadership to listen. And I think this idea of like walking the talk and showing up as a leader who listens and brings people together and brings different voices together also invites the leadership to say, hey, there are different, even if it's not your perspective, there's a different perspective over here, this whole group, right? I
Yeah.
love that.
And I'll add that you also have to be open to understand and know that just because you think you have a great idea, it does not mean that they're going to move forward with that. And you have to be able to kind of digest that and move forward, even if your idea isn't the one that gets moved forward. But at least you did share it and put it out there.
Wow, that's so good. What about you, Sherry? Why do you feel motivated to have a voice at the table?
Yeah, there's a couple things, but one is I grew up in a very blue collar area, and I think a lot of people were working to survive. And I want people to be able to thrive. We're at work a lot. We put our heart and soul into it, and you want to leave feeling fulfilled. Another reason, I've worked in Silicon Valley in sales. I've been one of the only few women in the room since college. And it's hard being different. And like Thelma, I've never fit the mold. And I want other women and minorities to have somebody who speaks on their behalf, who maybe they can come to for mentoring advice. And it's just very important to me that people who do want to thrive in their career have an opportunity to do it differently.
Yeah, and I'm so, so grateful that you're doing that inside of the Women's Leadership Accelerator. Like, I feel like both of you bring so much knowledge and wisdom, but you're also challenging the thinking of these women and really giving them that different perspective. Is really fantastic. They're so lucky to be able to learn from both of you. And it just, yeah, it just really, it's just like this, both of you are in this pass it on phase. But also you're still in it, right? You're both still in the journey. It's not like, we get to retirement and then we pass it on. It's like, no, you're still growing as a leader yourself, and you're already passing it on through your thought leadership, through giving back inside of the Women's Leadership Accelerator, and there's lots of other mentorship that the two of you are doing out in the world. It's huge. All right. So I'm curious if there's anything that we missed today. This has been a fantastic conversation. Anything else that you'd like to add before we head out?
I'll add one thing, Stacy. You mentioned the how, and I have 3 favorite questions of curiosity when you're meeting with somebody, or maybe it's a leader at your company you're intimidated to meet with. Is one, what are you incredibly proud of? 2, what's keeping you up at night? And then 3, if everything in your organization was going perfectly, where would you spend your time?
Oh my God, those are genius. Those are really good. Go back and listen to this recording and write them down if you didn't catch that. That's really good. I think, especially when we're going on interviews or even having conversations with senior executive leaders, we have our standard set of questions, right? We come up with 3 or 4 questions, and they're not that great. These are really great meeting. Like, what makes a great question? Why are they so good?
Well, you really find out what their priorities are, where they, like, let's say you're on an interview where you could contribute to the organization, or if you're a leader, I ask my team that, where they need my help or someone else in the company's help, and it gives people a chance to brag at the beginning. But then that last one, I think, is where the real magic is if everything was going perfectly, where would you spend your time? You start thinking about what's their long-term vision, right? I had a CEO or COO just recently tell me he'd be spending his time on working with the manufacturing team at the company. Well, that's pretty valuable information.
Yes, that's huge. Right. Yeah. Instead of just saying, like, what's your goal? It's like actually, where would you spend your time? And so you're going to get a better answer from that type of question. And I think this also goes back to your intention setting. I want to show up not only as a powerful leader, but I really want to support you. Right. And so if you can get an answer that's actually going to be insight into how you can best support them, then that's a much stronger answer, right? You're going to build a much stronger relationship and have a bigger impact just through the way that you're asking those questions. That's awesome. Thank you, Shari. That's a gold right there. All right, Thelma, what about you? Anything else just before we head out today?
I think so. Just reflecting back on the conversation and about our leadership, I think that one thing for me is that I am who I am. I've always been my authentic self. So you may give me a task and tell me, this is what I need to get done. Well, as long as you don't tell me how I need to do it, I want to get it done, because I think my brain may work a little bit different in some cases. So with that, I think that for me, just being who I am and being allowed to be who I am, and to get my work done and to move things forward has helped me to understand that belonging is not about fitting in. It's about being fully seen and still valued. And so I'd urge people not to necessarily fall into sameness and to just be who they are. And that's something that's really big for me as a people first leader, because I try to create kind of space where voices, they're heard, they're respected, and no one has to trade who they are to be accepted. And so belonging it shows up in moments where you feel safe enough to be yourself. And that, I believe, leads to people being open and more willing to be creative and to innovate and to move things forward in ways that they haven't been in the past, if they have that psychological safety to do so. So
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like going back to what you said before too, they may not always take your answers or your direction, but you create a space where voices can be heard and at least shared and acknowledged and valued, right? That's really, really important. I want to point out something else, just because I always really like doing this, especially inside of my coaching circles, is the meta side of the conversation that we're having, and I think it's really important to acknowledge. So inside the chat, happening in real time in this LinkedIn Live, Taryn asked, "Oh, those are great questions. Can somebody share the first one that Sherry had shared?" But the reason that I'm pointing this out is not just because of the simple act of saying, "Hey, what was that question again?" But last week I interviewed Taryn on this Summer of Magic series. And I want you all to think about that. When you're listening to these interviews, when you see a leader who has it all together, who has figured it out, who has, accelerated in their career, has had great success, and is still in the journey, like I was saying, is still part of figuring this out. So you can go back and you can watch Taryn's incredible interview from last week and see all of her amazing leadership and accomplishments. Yet she's still on here today supporting these women and also saying, "Hey, great question. Can you tell me what that is?" So we're learning together. We never get to the point where we arrive and we say, "Okay, I'm done. I figured it all out." And I don't even think that's possible with any of the women that I work with. It's not like, this is not part of our goal to have the end destination, but to figure out how to enjoy the journey more, to show up powerfully, to raise our hand, to say, "Hey, I'm here to support you, and I'm also here to continue to learn." So thank you, Taryn, for being that example. I know you just genuinely probably wanted to know the great question that Sherry asked. Sherry, can you remember what the first question was?
Yeah, it's what are you proud of? Is the
What are
first
you
one.
proud of? Excellent. Very, very good. Yeah. So if you're in that learning phase and you want to continue growing as a leader, I definitely encourage you to join us inside of the Women's Leadership Accelerator, where we're all experiencing and enjoying that summer of magic, opening up to possibilities and stepping into our true, authentic power. Go to mysummerofmagic.com. And thank you, Thelma and Shari, for being here today, for sharing your wisdom. Follow both of them on LinkedIn 100% to get some incredible inspiration every week. You guys are posting like crazy. So they do have a lot of value and a lot to share with the world. And I also encourage you to share this interview, to share some of their posts, right? If something resonates with you, to spread the word, because this is all part of that interweb of connection that we're experiencing here. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.